Well, all right. Good evening. Welcome to Moorish Heritage and History School. Eyes wide open. Moorish Heritage and History School class tonight is involving, as you all are used to hearing on the off Wednesdays, the reading of White Cargo. That's the book. Let me say that tonight and Edith's not with us. This is the RVBey. As you know, her mother has transformed, so we all gave a moment of silence and read for her last night. So all of you listening who didn't know it or who does, you want to send some good energy her way. But what we're doing, as we had planned for Brother Asim, let me see, here he is. We'll bring him in. Brother Asim, are you there? Islam, how are you today? Yes.
All is
Can
well.
you hear me all right?
I can hear you very good.
Terrific. We hear you as well. And I know Card's going to be on the line at some point because the last time when you were reading the book, this is a wonderful series, as we all agree, in that we're reading, and we usually read some chapters, at least 3, in reference to the facts regarding the fact that modern Europeans were slaves here, original slaves on the North American land, to be honest. You know, and that's amazing in a way when you think about it. And on those plantations, etc. And yes, there's, of course, many other keys to that. But this is interesting because we've been reading the book, and I know that the last time you and Bakari, and I think Bakari had done his cap-up presentation, and you had what appeared to be a really great presentation. We thought we had to wait until the first Wednesday, but there was 5 Wednesdays this week, and I think people are in. So I'm glad that they're listening in because of what's going to happen tonight. I don't know that there's reading going on, but this would be perfect for this presentation break. Now, if you could explain what that, if you don't mind, if you could explain exactly what that presentation was, to, cap up on what that is that you were presenting for the listeners.
Sure. One of the things Andy wanted to get some clarification of the location in which the British, or let's say the English and the Scots, when
you're breaking up just a little bit. You're breaking up a bit. At least that's what I'm
How about now? Is that good? How about now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good.
All right. I'm hoping it's good.
I know you're out there with the sun. I know you're out there, way out there in the west, where the solar eclipse really left some energy out there, right?
Yeah, it's one of those big energy centers too. But what I was going into was the location of the Europeans when they were coming onto the American continent, onto the soil of Morocco. All right, and in the reading of one of the charters, they were charted from the 34th parallel to the I think it's the 44th parallel or the 40th parallel. That was the area that they were charted.
Wow.
And
so wait a minute. So you're just saying that was the area where they were chartered to operate from or do their business from. Wow, interesting. Go ahead.
Exactly, to operate from and to do their business thereupon. And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. All right. And so when we look at that, so what I was explaining to everyone is how to navigate and how that area is found. And so how it's found is that we use navigation of a grid. All right, so we use a grid. I had put this down to make it simple for people to understand. Let me just open this up. All right. So it's longitude and latitudinal lines. They're imaginary lines now. And so I'm a real visual person. And so I have to, when I'm studying something, I stop for a minute when I'm reading, and I have to try to visualize it in my mind into a picture. All right? So what I do is I visualize my spinal cord, dividing my body from east to west, and then I vision my belly button or my navel dividing my body in a circular motion from north to south. All right, and I draw that imaginary line. All right, and so this longitude and latitude, the most basic terms is those are basic terms that's used in geography. All right, so when you're understanding points on the Earth plane, on the planet here, and so you have these measurements. So if you use your belly or your navel and go around your body in a circular motion and as a line, all right, that will be your latitude. And then above that would be coming north, would start 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, 5 degrees, all the way up on one side to your back to that line, 180 degrees. And then below your belly button, it would start, some say a negative 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, all the way round up to your back, be another 180 degrees, which makes 360 degrees, all right? And your belly button or your navel would be equivalent to, if you're talking about the planet or you're talking about Earth, would be equivalent to the equator, where it starts at 0 degrees, all right? And then your spinal cord.
So you said that line will be where? That will be your navel, your belly button. That area.
Belly button, yes, your navel.
Yeah, that makes sense because to the equator.
Right.
Got it.
So that'll be equivalent to the equator, all right? And you'll go north and south from that. And then your spinal cord, you'll go east and west from that, starting from, the right side of your body. You start, again, 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, going west all the way around to your back, and then start east, 1 degree, 2 degrees, 360 degrees. So it'll be equivalent to like 2 spears. So one is called the longitude and one is called the latitude, all right? And so this latitude is an angular distance. It is measured in degrees, minutes, and seconds. And when you think about that, you also would think about your will, when you're talking about astronomy also, when you're thinking about this here.
Yes.
So the latitude and how it's measured in degrees, minutes, and seconds, of a point. So the latitude is north and south of the equator, all right? And so what they call those lines, when you mapping them out, they're imaginary lines, but you can map them out, all right? And so what they call those lines is they refer to the latitude lines as being parallel because they run parallel to the equator, all right? And so if you're starting from 0 of the equator and you're going north, they were talking about the 38th parallel. So you go up 38 degrees, and that'll be your 38th parallel upon the Earth, and that circles the whole Earth plane, all right? So if you're in Europe or you're in the El Grid Maaxa, if you're in the Americas, all right, you've just followed that parallel all the way across and all the way around.
Mm-hmm. Got you.
All right. So when we follow that parallel from Europe or from the so-called African continent, if you follow the 38th parallel all the way across the Atlantic till it hits the Americas, you will hit somewhere around Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia. And so when we read in White Cargo, we see that that's where they went. There's Norfolk, Virginia. But now the reason they used the 38th parallel, just a minute. We had a lot of company. You had the reason they used that 38th parallel is because what was going on in Europe at the time with the English, with the Portuguese, with the Scots and everything taking control of around that time period, the 1607, 1606, or 1580, around 1580, they took control of the Rock of Gibraltar. Now, if you follow that 38th parallel back to Europe, it'll be around Morocco, Gibraltar, the Straits of Gibraltar. And that's an area where they conquered and took control of. So I'm thinking that since they had control of that parallel, why they in their charter, they charted the 38th parallel. And then if you take that on up into England, Scotland area, that'll be around the 40th, 44th parallel. And if you follow that all the way over to the Americas, that will bring you to where what they call New England area, Massachusetts, Connecticut, that area up there. And so they created, Elizabeth created that charter there. Now, when I was talking the last time about this here, I had a little confusion. I want to clarify something. Sir Humphrey Gilbert, which is the half brother of Sir Walter Raleigh, all right, he wasn't given a charter. I was saying that he was given a charter and he didn't satisfy the charter, but he was given a charter by Queen Elizabeth in 1578. No, I'm sorry, he was not given a charter. He was given letters of patent, which was a little different than a charter. So he was given letters of patent, and it was for 6 years.
Even though they're a little different, they're all just usage, but just even though they are different. Okay, usage of the land. Okay.
Yeah, the usage is it. The difference comes in is who are the beneficiaries of the patents or the charters or the royal charters, because when we further study, we find out that it was 3 different types of colonies that they were trying to set up. It was the royal colony. It was the but let me finish this and I'll bring it back. I'll start running into each other. I wanted to get this squared away as far as these parallels and the longitude and latitude. All right. And so that's why they were given that charter for that portion of land, to do business there, to inhabit that portion of land, to look for, to hunt, to look for raw materials and things of that nature, all right? Because that's what they controlled and occupied in Europe, that on that same parallel, all right? Because you see, before that, you have what the Spaniards. You had the Spaniards controlling basically below the 38th parallel. And that's where you come into below Virginia, where you have the Carolinas, Georgia, and all that down into Florida, where you, and I don't want to get further into that because we're dealing with the English right now and the modern Europeans, you know, and their slaves and what they did. Now, what happened with Sir Humphrey and Walter Raleigh, they was blown off course just like Colombo was blown off course and went into the islands, into the Caribbean. And so when they got to the Caribbean, you know, they just set up shop and said that was part of the British Empire or the English and the Scots control also, but that was just a little area there. But the Spaniards had already been there. So that's what I wanted to clarify there and bring, because we wanted to pinpoint the area of that charter, what they were chartered to do, where were they chartered to be at, and then what they did through conquest is, and it's written in the charters too, where the Queen, by the cover of night, gave them permission, in a sense, to take whatever land that was outside of that charter if they came across what they were calling anyone that wasn't under the Christian cross or under the Christian thing there. And so and they did. They expanded outside of that, you know, through conquest and estate, you know, just raping and stealing and taking that land there. So I'm hoping
in the name of Christianity, isn't that something?
In the name of Christianity. Well, we know what Christianity is.
Yeah.
For those who studying, you know, when you hear that they were doing that in the name of Christianity, that what they were doing, you know, don't get caught up into no religious, divine type of order, type of a thing. Even though the common people, they were fooled to believe that that's what they were dealing with, you know. So I believe, you know, I did talk to you, and you're going to do a wonderful lecture dealing with that. So, you know, all those listeners, you can tune in to you doing a lecture on. When you do it, it'll be it's needed.
Yeah,
it's
Friday.
Needed, so you know, so people know exactly what we're talking about when we hear they doing that in the name of Christianity.
Yes.
You know.
Yes, and they can read Intercater Divina 1492, and that'll help them understand it as well, because it's very clear, and they do not hide it.
That's right. Now, what makes longitude and latitude so important, even to this day, for a lot of Moors that's conscious? Not only Moors that's conscious, for a lot of people that are understanding and that live on the land. It's important for them to know exactly where they are. And if you use this longitude and latitude concept, then you can pinpoint anywhere on the planet. You can pinpoint exactly where you at. All right? And so what makes that important is that using that system versus using an address or using some type of other other locations that they had. For instance, they used to go out and put a stake in the ground. They used to look around and see a tree and the far east, and they look west and they'll see a hill or a river, and they would say, okay, from that oak tree there to this river here, to this area here where this rock is at, this is my land, all right? And then they'll create this here deed or whatever, this falsified paperwork to say, okay, this is my land. Somebody come along and chop down the tree, move up the area long after that person has transpired or something, and then they so-called map the land. Now, if you lose longitude and latitude areas on the planet, then where you standing at right now, where everyone who is listening right now, where they standing at right now, using longitude and latitude, what you would do is what you would see, if you can see it in your mind, you would see an X, which would be you would see the parallel, which I explained, which would be the equator. You will see that line that's parallel, and then you will see the line that longitude that crosses that, and at that point right there, that's where you're standing at. And what you can do is that some people, if they whatever system that they use as far as these browsing systems, Google or Bing or something, they can. What they did was did a conversion chart with addresses and things like that. Though they did a conversion chart where you can put in a so-called address, and it will convert to a longitude, latitude. And if you start using that longitude and latitude, you know, now you're talking about what you're talking about is a location on the land, and not no de facto location, like a mailing address or anything like that, which puts you into some other jurisdiction or something like that.
Okay.
You know.
So I'm glad you put that up. You're saying as a jurisdictional matter, because most of the times the counties, whatever the county is, they'll put what they call a lot and block on that particular parcel, and then the municipalities will put the address or avenue, which is a venue, and all of that is jurisdictional. And you're absolutely correct that, you know, we can't be possessive of an address. Now, we can, and I'm glad you brought it up, we can do it care of if you wish to, but this is why care of is always in front of any of those things. So it shows that you as an asked person are not possessive of that address, but because it speaks to matters of jurisdiction and can potentially alter jurisdiction if you're not clear about what you're saying, because you domicile wherever. But that's a very important thing. When they say what's your address, you don't have an address. You're not possessive of it. You would say I take mailing care of whatever. So thanks for bringing that up. That's very important.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And it's also charts that now through the math you can convert the latitude measurement, you know, which is expressed in degrees. It's easily converted into miles. So, for instance, the distance from the equator to, let's say, the North Pole or the South Pole. So, from the equator, which is 0 degrees latitude, to the top of the North Pole is 6,222 miles. All right, it's divided in half. All right, and so south to the South Pole is 6,200 and something miles, And so you just have to, divide that, and you can even break it into miles. Matter of fact, longitude and latitude is used when in aeronautical and maritime things for if you're traveling upon the sea, or even if you're traveling in the air. A lot of times longitude and latitude. But now on your maps, if anyone know how to read a map, all right, they have a similar grid made up, but they just turn it into miles. All right, so it's very similar to reading a map if you're traveling the land from. I traveled many times from the East Coast to the West Coast, and I traveled many times from like the Philadelphia territory area down into Florida, and from Philadelphia up into, New York, Massachusetts area a few times, So, and we use the map, and it's similar, where the lines match up longitude, latitude, but then between the longitude and latitude on the map, they might say it's another 20 miles to this line. Now, that's the latitude. I'm going to talk about longitude, all right, because longitude is measured also in degrees, minutes, and seconds, all right, and it's from east to west. But what they call that is measured, the dividing line is the prime meridian, all right. Lines of the longitude, which those lines that go straight up and down, is often referred to as meridians, all right, and they just ribs of lines, which, like I said, 1 degree, 2 degrees, and if you take that from the North Pole down, draw an imaginary line. If you go 1 degree and draw an imaginary line from the North Pole to the South Pole, that will be your first meridian going west. And then if you go east off of the prime meridian line and do the same thing, it'd be 1 degree east, 2 degrees east, 2 degrees west. So if you can picture that in your mind, where the longitude and latitude, those lines will meet up at a particular location, it marks your spot. And the meridian, it comes from the Latin word which means the midday. Because what happens is that the sun crosses each meridian, in the middle point between the sunrise and the sunset, and the meridians, it moves away from the equator and becomes closer together until they meet, at a certain pole. So, so where the longitude and it, where they meet, it marks your spot. All right. Now, before we had that, and we always hear that Moors were the navigators, of the seas. The Moors was the navigators of the seas. What you had then, back then, before you had the longitude and latitude, you had navigators that actually what they did was they charted the movements of the stars and the moon in order to get there, to get where they were going upon the seas, and so it was just a science. It was just a science to it in charting the movement of the stars, the movement of the moon. I forget every 15 degrees. I start that and I couldn't
that's critical to
finish
see.
it.
But it also, so did Harriet Tubman and others used always the North Star for traveling to the north.
Correct.
It's just true travel.
Yeah, correct. But it was a science to it, and so that's what I do with my grandchildren and stuff like that. I take them out in the evening time, and I have them find the North Star, and then I tell them to face the North Star and straddle their feet out and put their arms out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where it's head, arm, leg, arm,
mm-hmm.
and straddle that out. And I'm telling them, you know, which way is west. If your right arm, which is your left arm, is it east? You know, and facing the North Star, so that they can travel. And then we go in the house and come back out, and then what they do is they look in the same place, but they don't understand the movement of the planetary movement, that the North Star won't still be in that same place. It'll be in a different place as the planet is moving, so you have to come back out, and then you have to follow it and readjust to the North Star. So, you know, when they were saying Harriet Tubman followed the North Star and things, it is a science to it. You have to know that it moves, the planets move, you know, the moon, you know, and you see it appears that the moon is moving as the earth is moving and those things. And so, but like you said, though, that North Star is your compass. That's your starting point and could be your ending point. So, yeah. You know, so, you know, with that, so they was able to navigate, you know, on the seas, you know, with navigators. And that's how come when you read these books and they say that Christopher Columbus had Moors with him navigating, the reason why, that was a high science. That was a high science. And what we did, you know, in those times, you took your children and you watched your children, and then you would school your children in one of these sciences. You know, well, they'll get schooled in a lot of the different sciences, but they would take one of these sciences as a trade. You know, and so you had a trade of navigators. You know, these were people that were sought out, you know, to come and navigate, you know, the ships to where they had to go, you know, because, you know, the seas would be rough, and then, you know, you would easily get blown off course and have to get back on course and stuff like that. And if you didn't have a good navigator, you know, you'd be, you just go to the wrong place, period. Be lost at sea.
And they definitely didn't know that, you know. They were definitely taught those things by Moor.
Yes. So when we hear that Cristo Colombo, he had a navigators and they were Moors, that was the reason why. See, because before that, the Europeans was considering the world flat. You know, and they would fall off, and we knew better.
Yeah, we knew what the movements were between the earth and the heaven and the heavenly body, you know, that they did not know in relationship to it, in a geology way and in a astronomy way, because astronomy is the geographic, if you will, of the stars or the heavenly bodies, and then geography. I meant geography. And the geography is of the geo, which is the earth. And so we knew the relationship of where they did not.
And it absolutely. And they couldn't, and they had problems figuring out. And we see even in when we read White Cargo, that a lot of times they would, Mr. Humphrey was given those what we called it, the letter of a patent, but for 6 years he had problems. Well, 5 years he had problems, navigating the seas.
Mm-hmm.
He had problems navigating the seas, because it wasn't no joke. And you see now on a lot of TV shows, and I don't want to get off the subject of white cargo because the subject was about pinpointing the location here on the continent and understanding that when these charters was written, that it would be the same as when you see these corporations with franchises or little companies. When they start these companies, they given a certain sales area, and they're not to go outside of their sales area. So when they give in their corporation papers and their business plan, it is that we're going to be in a certain sales area, and that's going to be your sales area. And then if, for instance, if you had another Burger King will be in one sales area, and then they map it out that they don't want another Burger King so close to that Burger King that they will be in that sales area, and that will be in their chart or in their business plan, and that's what they're supposed to stick to. And if they build outside of that, it's supposed to be some kind of consequences and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So who was it? After Elizabeth, it was Annie Eve sent out the charter for Walter Raleigh, and I was confusing the family with the patent, and I just wanted to clarify that because the patent was given to his stepbrother Humphrey Gilbert, and that was June 11, 1578, and it was for 6 years. And then after that 6 years, which would be, 1584, which that was the charter that Annie Ede had sent out to people, and then she also put it on the website, I think. Mm-hmm. And you see that it was after that 6 years that Sir Walter Raleigh got his charter, and then his charter was supposed to be for 6 years. And what happened, you had Queen Elizabeth transpired, and who was it? King James took over the throne, and what he did was reissued a second charter in 1603. Let me see. I think in 1603, I got the charter here, matter of fact. What I did was went on, what's that, Avion, that site.
Avalon. Avalon.com, yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Avalon.com by Yale College, where they have the charters and stuff like that. And I went on to get that charter. And, it was called the Second Charter of Virginia, May 23rd, 1609. And King James, he reissued that charter in 1609. But again, we have to understand why they issued that charter in just that area. And we should always ask ourselves that, because you talk about United States of America, we talk about and we study United States, all right? Where did these people come from, and why did they just settle there as far as those modern Europeans, and started colonized there? And I hope that explained that they had so-called conquered a certain area in Europe. And what happened also, because the Gibraltar is called the Straits of Gibraltar, and that's a gap from the Atlantic. It's an opening from the Atlantic Sea into the Mediterranean. And in between both sides of that strait, you have what you see today as Morocco, and then on the other side of that, on the northern side of that, you will see what they call today Spain. And then you have those straits, which would lead, who controlled those straits, right? They controlled all the commerce that came in and out of the Mediterranean, which fed into inland to, France, Cannes, Nice, that area, into the Mediterranean and all the surrounding areas. If you went up to the just Mediterranean into Israel or Canaan land or Canaan, you can go in through the Mediterranean there. So whoever controlled that and controlled all the seafaring ways, that was the key to leave out of Europe to come to the farthest west there for seafarers, right? And so what happened in what was it, 1507 or somewhere around there, England, and they took control of that area after 1492. After Granada fell, and the Moors went into North Africa. All right, they didn't stop there. So, who I'm talking about, the Europeans didn't stop there by just moving us out of Granada. All right, they came down across the straits because they wanted to take control of that, and so part of the northeastern part of Morocco there was also considered Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So when people looking through their history and they read in Spain, that was also considered Spain too, that area there, and they took control of there. So you had, I wish I could explain this here where everybody can have a map and they can actually see that, the Straits of Gibraltar there, and know exactly what I'm talking about, because it's very important to understand that when you see that they conquered that area, and as a result of conquering that area, they when their charters was written, they stayed on the parallels of the areas that they had conquered and went over into America, and that's how come they settled there in those areas of America. And we're talking about the English, the English and the Scots.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to understand that as we read and write White Cargo, Islam.
Yeah, Islam. I was just sent a text. The charter that you're talking about, Sir Walter Raleigh's charter, is on the moorishnews.wordpress.com, and it also was sent out with the syllabus today. If anybody did, it was sent out. So now, essentially, what we're saying is, and what you're saying is too, and this is a good question, is that originally these modern Europeans were only talking about, and still to this day, really, because they still operate from charters, right? As you said, sales territories of doing commerce, or if they came over here as workers, slaves, servants, whatever, for the British companies that they were trapping, as you said, or growing crops, whatever they were doing, and those terms were really just a charter, and meaning the use of the land. And now a lot of people may not understand how that actually still applies today, particularly and especially that they're still using charters today. They're still under those charters today. So, one thing is they're not state government and like that. So the point, I guess, they've never had any ownership in any way, spiritually or otherwise, no dominion at all. of the American land of states. Ever.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
like
because what we have to do is we got to get clear in our mind exactly what we're talking about and the time period that we're talking. Because when we're talking, it wasn't no United States of America. Matter of fact, it wasn't no United States. And these people came here with these charters to do business, and they've been doing business with those charters ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the creation of the United States and this United States of America, and only coming about with paper with the organic constitution, but when you understand, it might be the same people, some of the same people, but we're talking about two different things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We really need to understand. These people came over here with to set up these colonies, to set up these rural colonies, and that's what they came to do business. They came here to do business, and what happened as a result of that, because the people that they sent to set those things up, these people was rogue. You know, when we talking about Sir Walter Raleigh and we talking about Humphrey Gilbert and these dudes was rogue. Matter of fact, and so as a result of these dudes, they had to set up something. They had to more or less be civilized, I want to say, because they had to form some type of government here to hold them in check. And so that came out a result of those corporations being set up to do something to keep them in check.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's how I see it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting. I was just looking for this, and I'll just find this one portion here. You had mentioned, I heard you mention that there was no United States. Now, again, verified as well when we went down to Ellis Island. It says under the second leg of colonization, it says European nations colonized the Americas to exploit natural resources, engage in commerce, create new communities, and convert native people to Christianity. Spain, France, Holland, England, and Spain, France, Holland, England, and other Euro powers claim different parts. Now listen to this. This what it says. Different parts of what would become the United States. They battled one another as well as Native Americans to gain dominance and control trade and territory. So, what you're saying is, like you said, they were allowed to be here, but then because of the nature of the beast, we could say, they just began to spread out, dominate, take, steal, rob. And that's just what happens. But it never was any ownership of any kind. But now going back to what you said, period, it says, and to convert native people to Christianity. I mean, this is their goal.
That's right. And so what we found as a result of that is that, with some Moors that wasn't with it. So they was like, look, we got to become a united state or a united colony or a united plantation. Mm-hmm. All those are the same thing, And so we have to become a united this to protect ourselves because, look, we done went rogue on them and they want to wipe us out. They don't want us here. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that was going on, too, as a result of that. So, when you read it formed the United States.
Yeah, it said it would become the United States. There wasn't, to form it, right? Because it was, I was going off of what you were saying, it wasn't that. It wasn't, right. It didn't even exist.
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm. So then at some point, I know, I'm not sure, maybe you can recall, at some point, the British basically who brought them over basically left them to fend for themselves, and this is when or what you call hostile takeover. It's like, I know we're talking about the English, as you said, so you don't want to get into the other ones, but many people came here to a hostile takeover, and so a lot of them, and I believe it was the English for certain, were left abandoned and on their own, and that's when you pick up the stories where some of the natives, or the Moors, because we were the natives at that time and still are, was helping them because they were dying and starving, and they had left them, sort of abandoned them. And at some point, then that truth to point that puzzle piece is when they came to the existing Congress to ask for help to be independent or free from the British. I mean, this story it has its following in terms of the chronology of what happened.
Right. Right, because I used to ask myself, yeah, well, that's a good point there. When they came, now we moving up in time here.
Yeah.
In the example that you speaking of, because that's how it evolved. All right. That's why it was important when the prophet put these two dates. When I became conscious of the Moorish paradigm, I came across 1774 and 1779. And I'm like, wow, what is the prophet talking about? Now, we know.
Oh, yeah.
So we know in 1774, we know that when we read, our names were taken from us, and we were branded Negro, Black, and Colored in 1779, and this lasts up until 1865. But the 1774, so what's so important about the 1774 is the instrument that they constructed there. But then in 1774, this is when we find also how treacherous these Europeans were at the same time, because they wanted their independence. They had to fight for it, but then in secrecy though, they still wanted to make slaves of the Moor, I want to say. But we find out, though, as of that document, and because of 1774, this is why the prophet said there's no need for the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, because in that we was already free. So.
Right. Now, in 1774, though, that is the Articles of Association.
Right.
1774. Okay. Yeah.
1774.
That's the original. Now, that's the original when they came to the existing Congress on September the 5th, 1774. That's when they were asking for assistance to be free. Now, wow. Now, going to what you said, even after getting that assistance, it was like, all right, well, do your Declaration of Independence from the British, but you're right about once they were free, they turned around. This was in the Civil, where the letter from Benjamin Banneker came out.
Yeah, that's what's so important.
Now, this is something this is something to think about, because in that, Benjamin Banneker himself says, wait a minute, you just came out of fighting for freedom, and now you're looking at us and my brethren. Well, he said my brethren because he never was enslaved. And he says, now you're looking at my brethren with an eye to put them into slavery. Now, this is a heavy thing to say, and kind of brought it up. It's really interesting because the whole thing is to get the nature of, what on who we're dealing with. So how is it that you just got free? Then we're helping you, as a matter of fact. That's what he's saying in the letter. He really
That's
is
right.
telling them off. Yes. And now you're looking at to put us in slavery, enslave us. See, that's a very important thing to think about because that's the nature of the being that we're dealing with. So that letter, is proof positive of that. But of course, our children and ourselves don't get that in school. That's why we have it available on the Forgotten Scrolls page. But you find that to be really interesting. Well, it's not that interesting. It's just this is what we're dealing with. This is the nature. This is really lower self-activity going down. You know what I mean? And it's a lot. But think about it. And this is why I think these readings are going on. The fact that, hey, everyone, they're the original slaves, which will change your entire mindset, your entire paradigm of thinking. Is to see that what the truth is, of course. And to see the importance of having knowledge of these things so we can get through them, and stop hanging on to, look at, oh, woe was me, I was a slave when, I was enslaved, when the reality is, the truth is absolutely different than that, and it doesn't change. So I think, having knowledge of these things is what will free our minds, It's very important.
Absolutely. And not only for the Moor, it's important for the modern European, too, because a lie is a lie.
Right. But see, that's what's happening today, too, with them. In other words, it's time for everyone to confess their own. That includes everyone. That's why, even the Constitution, which is the law of the land, is for everyone. But everyone must confess their own. So it is also unveiling to them to know this truth.
That's right.
And to have had your neck on, foot on someone's neck on lie.
That's right. For a person to walk around and think that, okay, you were slaves, we enslaved you, and we superior to you, and this and that, and now then to come to find out, well, damn, we were slaves first. That's an enlightening thing there. So the truth is very important. That's to help free their mind too. To help free their mind too. So just like you said, it's important to know. We got to know this here. Moors and this European.
That's right. And you know what? When I do this presentation too, it's going to be really mind blowing because I was trying to figure out, well, when did this whole idea of enslavement start? Where is this idea? And I realized when it did, and that was when we established love. But that's also right. But guess what? It's not hidden. Myself and Dave, we went through it yesterday. It's right there in Genesis 1 going into Genesis 2. It's just right there. It's not even hidden. But I think, I don't understand how people can not say they read that and then don't get that. I mean, it's so clear. It's like right there. From Genesis 1, which we know manifested in the flesh, to Genesis 2, when Lord, it says right there, we needed someone to till the land. I thought this used to say that, and I thought, which is funny, until I really looked into the study, and it's not. It's real. So I also know on a higher level, what that is, but, I'm going to deal with that and expose it. It's not even to be exposed. It's right there. But I want to say this. This is one line out of the Articles of Association, October 20, 1774. And then I want to try to figure it out, and I'm going to have to build with maybe yourself and Eve. We're going to have to figure out why is it that in 17, he says we did the same thing you did. And we tripped up, or not tripped up on, we were looking for what Constitution of 1774. That's what you were thinking, right? And doing the studies when the prophet said that. And that's when we came upon the Articles of Association. Now, I don't know if there's something else out there. Did you find anything else out there?
No, I didn't find nothing else out there.
Right. So I think what the prophet was doing is
Congress convene and reconvene.
Right.
But go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut your energy.
No, it's all right. No, I'm saying in this year, 1774 is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what he was doing, definitely, if you study, you would have to come up against this. This is what we did. And we're like, wait a minute, what does this say? And then you have in the Constitution that all agreements entered into prior to this one are still valid, etc. like that, right? And then you look at the substance of this. And let me just read the first line, up to the point of the Congress. This is so powerful. Because this whole thing means that the prophet was saying that agreement that you made with them, that was made with them on the Continental Congress of 1774, will show us who was who and what was what without a shadow of a doubt. Because the Continental Congress was already existing, and that was definitely us. And they definitely came on the 5th day of September. Right?
That's right.
So, to an existing Congress, and I think that's what he was trying to send us to, that, so that we could know who we were in this, right, here and there. Now, to say that we got lost our brands at that time, now, I'm looking at, we got branded at that time, or from that point there after. That's what I want to look into, because I think I got it, though. If we allow them to come up, as you will, and then they turn around and did what? Want to put us into slavery. And that's when they branded us. So he's saying go to this point, which was an agreement, and then from there you'll see what happens after that. It has to be. So anyway, it says here, I'm mulling it around. We're going to have to build on that one. We, His Majesty's most loyal subjects, the delegates of the several colonies of New Hampshire. Now, these names, these are going to all be in that parallel you're talking about, too. New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. The 3 lower counties of Newcastle, Kent, and Sussex on the Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, deputed to represent them in a Continental Congress held in the city of Philadelphia on the 5th day of September, 1774. So, if it was 1774, they didn't say they said in the Continental Congress. We don't need to ask. This right here affirms that the Continental Congress was existing, and we all know that it wasn't then, because they're coming to it asking to help with their freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that make common sense? Get you to thinking?
Yes.
Yeah. So you are familiar with this, and again, we're ahead, because the whole thing of reading of going into showing that they were slaves, the first slaves here in American land, is to show who they really are. Because remember, the prophet said you are whatever your forefathers and foremothers are, and so the history doesn't change, the truth doesn't change. And the one thing for sure is gaining back your heritage in a conflict that can't be told in words. This is our ancestral estate, because we know they're not Aboriginal. It's all of it shows that, and they don't even hide that part. So the question is, how is it that they get to claim as if this is their land and they have some rule over it? How does that happen? What do you? Just because we don't know?
Or that we've been hoodwinked, and it was some sellouts, and because it all was done on paper.
Mm-hmm.
It all was done on paper, because I always ask myself this here, the making of a slave. How do you make a slave? We were free people up into this here point, and I'm talking about on paper, because they did this on paper in 1774. So how do you make a slave? You write them into shackles, Wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But like you say, you know who's who and who's not, though, as a result of that, though, because the Continental Congress. So I need to do some more research there, and I hope someone is listening that is, more astute, and that would call in and can go in on that, I just really do. Because when I read it and when I came into that and I started looking into it, it just, it's like your hairs stick up because it's like antennas come up, the importance of that. And like you did, you went into the Articles of Association, and then you went forward into the Organic Constitution, Article 6, and then you came back to the Articles of Association because that's what's included as the law of the land.
Well, actually, no. The Articles, I'm not saying it because it's the Articles of Confederation, which is the Great Law of Peace. But this is what the prophet sent us to when he said 1774. So I'm not sure. He says, and since that Constitution has never changed. And so I'm looking at this. Wow, they even call themselves American subjects. Listen, if you haven't read the Articles of Association, you have to read it, okay? Because they're talking about the fact that their present unhappy situation of our affairs. Now, when they say of our affairs, let's not get twisted. They just identified who they were. They just did that already, all right? The colony. So, really, and this has nothing to do with us. This is them, all right? So it said that the present unhappy situation of our affairs is occasioned by a ruinous system of colony administration adopted by the British ministry about the year 1763, evidently calculated for enslaving these colonies and within the British Empire. Okay? That various acts of Parliament have been passed for raising a revenue, and I think that's in the book where they raise revenue. Remember the lottery and stuff. But raising a revenue in America for depriving the American subjects, in many instances, of the constitutional trial by jury, exposing their lives to danger by directing a new and illegal trial beyond the seas for crimes alleged to have been committed. Now, when you do read the Articles of Association, everything that they're complaining about in it is what's happening to us now.
Right now.
Yes, right now. So, then it says, thus by the influence of civil principles and ancient prejudices, okay, to dispose the inhabitants to act with hostility against the free Protestant colonies whenever a wicked ministry shall choose to direct them. And so this really isn't us. This is what, 1774? And then from that they did their direct declaration of independence in 1776. And then after that, it's a sequence of events. After that, it's like, okay, 1787, we do the treaty to allow them to do commerce freely, though. In other words, not to have been dropped off here or brought here as slaves and subjects and servants to the British. Now you can come on the seas free. You see what I'm saying? Instead of coming as the slave and just put up the banner, which is a military ensign, which is what the Star-Spangled Banner is. Then from there, it's a process. All right, now here's the law of the land that you must adhere to, etc., like that. Because there was a lot of wars on this land by foreigners on this land fighting each other on our land. You know what I mean? So all of that had to see. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we would like to, get more clarification on why he said this was the Constitution of 1774. And I guess it's because it was just simply an agreement, compact agreement.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you know what else I'm coming to understand, and you even read it in there, like you said about the raising of money. You know, even from the beginning of those charters, all right, this whole thing, it was huge amounts of money to be put up to do a venture, what they called a venture or a voyage. It was huge amounts of money that had to be raised. And when they was raising that money, they became owed to certain people, then as well as now. All right, because when you read those charters, let's see, how did that charter read? Let me see. It's deep how all those charters read. Let me see. Find out and review remote heathens, barbarous lands, countries, territories not actually possessed by any Christian prince, nor inhabitants of Christian people. No, it reads something like to his heirs. They had to pay a certain amount to the crown, to the queen, all right, and her heirs, and so forth. And then the people that the charters was given to, they would the way that these charters, and to his heirs assigned forever free liberty and license from time to time, and at all times forever hereafter, to discover, search, find out, and view such remote heathens, barbarous lands, countries. But this here thing right here with the heirs, and say that again?
Yeah, you said, and use such remote lands, yeah.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
But it was given to his heirs, assigns, and assigns, who they and these assigns were because these debts have to be paid back. That debt has to be paid back, you know, because they raised this money. Like you said then, it was a huge debt. And so they had to find a way to pay that debt back, especially after Humphrey, he didn't fulfill his mission. Walter Raleigh didn't really fulfill his mission. And then when the second charter came, that's when they really started establishing those colonies. But all those ventures that went out, they raised huge amounts of money and was expecting a return for those because, remember, they doing business. It was commerce. And even in that second, in the so-called second charter, in the so-called second charter, they talk about the reason for it is to period, to do commerce, like you said, period.
Yeah, period. You know? Right. That's it. Right, exactly. That's why
business, to further the business of the said colonies and plantations. And so when the people hear this word colony, plantation, these 13 states, understand they all the same people. There's all the same thing that they're talking about.
Exactly.
You know?
And don't try to get in bed with thinking that person was being on the land and fiscally.
That's right.
You know what? There is something. That's the key. That's the key. Yes, that we have to, and this is why when the prophet says you're getting back your heritage and your lost estate in a conflict that can't be told in words, this is why he said this. But you know what? There is someone's hand up, and maybe they have something to add or something to add to or answer to the question that we asked. So let me bring them in and see who it is and what they have to say. Is that good with you?
Okay.
Yes. All right. Hold on a moment. This would be 214. Oh, hold on. 214-567. Islam. Did you have a comment to add? 214-567. Guess not. They're not there. Okay, I'm going to read them back. Maybe I'll try them a little later. Maybe they're not aware that they have their hand up and they just have nothing to add at this time.
Mm.
So, we were saying how important it is that we realize that, their whole thing was to come to do now to use of the land for sales, for commerce. So again, like you said, we've been duped. We're asleep. We don't know, who we are and what our status and relationship to the land is. So therefore, we don't claim it. We don't live it. We're not living who we really are. And the enslavement, as you said, it's all on paper, bureaucratic to some great degree.
Yeah.
So. There's someone else who has their hand up. Hold on. They're probably waiting for me to see, like, and say, okay, in this section is where you can call in. We're doing it a little different, but let me see. There's someone else who has their hand up. Let's see if they want to join in and add something to this. That's the 111111. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Greetings, Sister Raj and Brother RVBey. How you feel?
Happy.
I seen.
All
right.
is well, brother. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Brother Brow, and I met you over there at the park one time at the Marcus Garvey Park. You was doing the Tai Chi and everything with your wife. One time there, we met up. You was doing Tai Chi in the park.
That's not me. That's not
that
me. But
you?
I do. No. But I do.
You wear glasses, right, brother? You don't wear glasses?
I used to wear glasses.
Now this is Asim Bey. You're thinking of Aline. This is Asim.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because the voice sounds very, familiar. That's why. It has a distinct sound.
Yeah.
I was saying with that brother.
All right.
Okay, that's great. But I like the show that you're doing tonight. It's doing real good, and you keep up that good work. And
yes,
sir.
Y'all
on the right track, and you're giving everybody the right positive vibration to keep that frequency up. And I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, because it's all about love and unity, and that's what we all got to strive for, no matter what. It's going to be hard because there's a lot of people, in those deep spells. To break them spells, they got to go within,
That's a fact.
Keep sending what you're sending out in the universe, to keep waking up, fallen humanity and the rest of the brethren, and, it's all going to come together sooner or later and, fruition.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
True,
That's right. It's coming together. It's coming together now.
Yeah, what goes around comes around.
Yeah, it's coming together now, brother. I mean, that's how I look at it. Because I know for me, it was a time when I wasn't conscious, and now I'm conscious. As for you, also might have been a time when you wasn't conscious, and now you conscious, and we together, brother. So it's all coming together now.
Yep, and I gotta give full praise to Sister Raj. He put me on, you know what I'm saying, from way back. So I learned from them, and I took it from there and ran with it.
That's what
Mm-hmm.
And,
so that's what we're talking about.
Learning, and studying, keeping the studies up. That's where it's at. To keep that,
that's right.
The disappear from within the psyche. Huh?
let me ask you a question, because on this broadcast, we are reading. Well, we have up to today discussing the white cargo. The fact that people, because I know you kind of have your pulse in the community or whatever, are finding out that the first slaves were modern Europeans that they call white people or white slave masters, that they were slaves here first. What kind of effect does that have on people that out in the general public in the streets that you run into or whatever? I'm
listening.
How do you see them receiving that? Not perceiving it, but receiving it.
I see, like, a little bit half and half-ish, because it's so locked in. It's like having a law, what they call that? A lockjaw brain. They can't come out of some of the stuff because it's so overwhelming when they get that information. And half of the time they don't even know where to go to see, the environment that they live within, and they see all these different things that's been imposed on them.
Okay.
Mentally,
so, Okay, you said the key. You said two things now. You said overwhelming, and then you said mental, and that's exactly correct. Overwhelming when you've been lied to, and then suddenly, it's something different now to receive it, or how to receive it. Sometimes it's rejected, not because it's not true, but because their mental slavery is still there, and until they can, And the only way.
Point too, when you say exorcism, you always say exorcism. I always notice that when you talk a lot, you always say that, and it makes 100% that it is an exorcism. A lot of us are going through, and then there's a lot of us that come out of it quicker than some.
That's a good point.
And it goes back to like it's been said over and over. We were already here, so we returning back again, the ancestors. So the ones that know it versus the ones that don't fully have it in them because they're so deep rooted into the spell, they're opening up more quicker so they could capture whoever they can capture to send the universal signal of vibrations out to those that can penetrate their deeper consciousness that will, how you say, shake them up and wake them up, where they're just like, how you get in a boxing ring and somebody just taps you and you're not used to getting tapped and it just shakes your whole vibration, your body up. It wakes you up, but you're not fully awake, but you're like stunned.
Okay, so now you said a third key word. You said a third key word, which is wake up. Just like the prophet said, wake up, you sleepy-headed boy. So, all right, so that's good. So we got overwhelming, we got the mental slavery, and we got the fact that we have to wake up. And you're right, some people, it's a difficult thing. Now, the key to all of that is of course, once you're here to study, we all know that, to go look it up. We say study, it's just like what we're doing now, with the information that's matter-of-factly being done. And the other key to that is to open up their mind, to be able to open up the mind and let the light of truth enter, right? Because that's been one of the mysteries of the Silent Brotherhood. We read that before, but it says, if we open up the mind, if we open up the window of our mind, the truth will enter in and make herself at home. For truth can find her way through any crevice, any window, and any open door. So that's that to the mental slavery portion, or what people would say, the spell, or whatever like that. So it's interesting. And then I guess that's why not everybody.
And some people get it, Some people get it quick, and some won't get it quick, because you always remember one thing. Like it's always been said, even you said it, your son says it, Anna E says it, Cujo says it, and other Moors that are aware of this. when people do come into this great overstanding for the first time, they get somewhat of it, but when they really sense that this stuff has been so much withheld from them, hidden, and then they already had the sense of something, but they didn't really have their hands on it, and then you just came right in front of it and just made it perfectly clear somewhat to them. You know, that's dangerous in a way, because if people wake up too fast, there's going to be a lot of black eyes going on out here, because you already know people are frustrated, and you know what's hurting most unconscious Moors is economics. You got to face it, and you know that in most places nobody's really talking about the economics. Okay,
but we are,
and they know they trapped in a matrix where they want to get out that matrix so bad economically.
Yeah, okay, I got you. You said something else, so let me just tell you, because we are the economics. You see, that's the part we don't get. We are, and giving this information in regards to the fact that this is our ancestral state, which means we have dominion, not domination. Dominion, which is spiritual ownership, which is divine first, over the earth and the resources of the earth, of which these people that we're identifying, these foreigners, are not that. And they're using those resources. So we are the economics. But the other thing that you said, this is great. When you said when they wake up, it could be dangerous. Now, Prophet Noah Jolie addressed that. He said, I would tell you everything. But if I did, you would go back to sleep, right? Because I know you're in a mental state, and I know you need to wake up. That's like walking up to somebody and waking them up abruptly and stuff. You know what I mean? Like so all of those things we now know, and you are verifying them, and that's great. Because so with that, and that's the reason why he said study. So people have to study at their own course and their own pace, and they have to have one thing in order to even open up the mind, which is the will to do so.
That's right. Right. And the humbleness and the patientness, you know?
Okay. You saying all the keywords.
And the way they
the
redirect their energy. You know, you don't got to be negative once you find out the information. You know, you can redirect the energy to make it be a better thing. Now you know. Now, what's the solution? What you going to do now? You know?
I'd like to share on that question, too.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have a niece that she drives for SEPTA in the Philadelphia territory. She drives one of the trolleys there. And she became conscious a couple years ago, and sometimes people get on the transportation and they stand there and she has a sort of conversation with her, talking to her. And so another Moor got on and was talking to her, and they was talking about slavery of Moors and stuff. And it was a European male standing behind him, and his stop came up, and when he was coming up to his stop, he turned to her and says, you need to really study your history because we were slaves before you were.
Right.
And he got off the trolley, and she called me because it blew her mind. It blew her mind. She never heard that before, and then hearing it from a European, she was like, what the hell is he talking about? And so she called me to share that story with me, and she's been studying ever since. I mean, she's been going hard ever since. She said, I got to find this. She said, is it true? And, the way I do my family. Say it again?
Now what
type of effect is that? Because that was already done. I think Cujo did a video on that, what you just said, where he had a European on there. So they're going to tell you what really went on, because it takes some of them to wake us up sometimes.
Well,
yeah.
and that's a part of the mental, the spell and the mental, and we always have said that, known that to be true as well.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to bring that up. Like, it's interesting to see that it had to be a modern European to say that in order for her or many other people to say, oh, shoot, must be real when we check it out, right?
Yeah, when
and not only that,
European
you know, not only that, but that was part of her, you know, that was divine. You know, that's how we looked at it. That was divine because, you know, she become conscious. Now she's talking about it. And then somebody else gets on and she knows she's talking about it. Now the European, you know, these words is going out into the ethers. He hears it, and then before he gets off, he could have just got off.
Right.
He didn't have to say nothing. And then he tells us, says, you need to study study the history. We were slaves first.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and because they was this sort of discussing how upset they were about slavery. And so when he said that, you know, it sort of put in my mind, how do you think we felt?
Well, that is it. The Europeans will tell the truth. And that's what happened. That's what happened. Now, one other thing, if I may, I just took notes on the words that are being read here, and you had mentioned that people have to, you know, become humble. So that's where the ego comes in at, and humility is the way. So you're right. So you're saying all the things that that we know need to happen. Wow, very interesting.
That's stemming from the spirituality aspects of it all. That's the real. That's the real religion. That's the realest religion, is the spiritual aspect of it. You know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know.
We have someone else that. Oh, go ahead, brother. There's someone else that wants to join me.
Inject. I was saying we learn as we go, and it's so much overwhelming. You can't take all of this stuff in just so quickly. You got to fall back sometimes. Because this stuff that you want to read, it's so overwhelming and so powerful. It's like, wow.
Yes. And check this out. And you know, I do know what you're saying. That's again part of the mental slavery, and that's why it takes a while to assimilate, I guess, and that should be being done while you're looking into these things and checking it out. It's real, and hopefully jubilating about the fact that it is, and then adjusting your life to the truth. Because remember, and we understand now why they say the truth is the light, because it is powerful, like you said. And so this is what we just have to do, or we can just remain in that good state, you know, or remain, you know, like you said, people they're upset about it or whatever like that. Excuse me. They can remain there and be angry, and so it's their choice now. See, it's their choice, because whatever state of mind that they're in, they have a choice now to either come out of it, but they have to make, and like you're saying, there was, that's raising humanity. That's uplifting fallen humanity by saying that a person has to get into that particular place where they.
And I can't stress so much.
Opposite.
Health is important too. Most of our own people don't have a great understanding about health, about eating the right things to open up these chakras. In order for you to suck in the frequency that's out here, because we all supposed to be on a certain frequency when we're dealing in this format, you know?
But that's all part of it, too. That's all part of it, too, because once you do the study and the assimilation into the truth, then you find out that you've been forced off of the natural products of the land, and you've been forced into eating stuff that actually is poisoning you and killing you. That's all part of it, of the uplifting of fallen humanity. That is included in it. right?
Right. You don't have that
And
beast
it doesn't matter.
mentality, that beast mentality, because like you always say, it's your lower and your higher self. So which one do you want to work from, your lower self or your higher self? The higher self deals with nature. That deals with staying away from flesh products, because whatever you take on, you become that part of, you know? If you eat a lot of flesh, and beasts, how you know how beasts do, they always got the vibrations that everything is always, you know, savage. You know, they got to run around savage. You know, they could be calm. You always could soothe the beast, but the beast has always got that nature.
You
know?
This is true. This is nature. That's right. That's right.
It's rare
now,
a person that don't eat no flesh product to be mad or have that tendency to want to just go out and just hurt someone or be, you know, arrogant or, you know, egotistical, unless they might be. Have you ever met a so-called vegan or vegetarian that's out there that want to do harm to somebody, or if you talk to them, they do have more patience, their vibration slows down where they can sit back and listen to you and really hear you out, versus someone that eat flesh products or feed or scavenge?
I understand perfectly. Yeah. You're right. Now I have to join in someone else. I think two other people here. We do one at a time.
I thank you for the time. And
thank you.
I'm surprised you took the call on Wednesday. You usually don't take calls. That's why I was kind of
No. We never do. Normally, on the off Wednesdays, we do this reading of White Cargo, but because Sister Anita is not available right now, and not only that, I mean, I could have read, but Brother Asim was making his presentation, so we changed it up a little bit for today. But normally, we do not, only on the days when they read this book will they join in, for only those who have read the book and who participate in this particular one. So thank you for calling and adding your
Islam, brother. And you know, I wanted to say,
I wanted to get in touch with you, brother, because I think I know you. Your voice is too distinct, and I know who you are. I just think that we probably ain't hitting off with, you know, what I think. I could have sworn that you've been in Harlem before.
Well, he did come to the class.
Oh, just passing through. Yeah. But and I want to do Chai Chung, not Chai Chi. And right. But
and you do that. You did that in the park before? Have you ever done it in the park?
Not in Harlem though.
Not at Marcus.
Philadelphia and Arizona territory.
All right. Okay. No doubt.
But if Roz can pass my number on to you, just give me a call, brother.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. I give you an email. You know, keep it on like how you supposed to in the private, like how we supposed to be.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yes. What you can do is, if you come to, we're there on the second and third Wednesday at the Harlem at New York at National Black Theater. If you will come through there, then we can connect there. All right.
All right.
Cool.
That sounds great. That sounds good.
Peace.
All right.
Thank you.
Love, one love. All right. To all the family.
Peace.
Thank you. Peace, Islam.
You know, someone else is coming on. I wanted to say something about these charters too.
Sure.
I'll wait for the next call.
All
right.
You might want to add that now, and then I'll pick up the next call.
Okay. All right. See, because they talk about these charters that was made, and we was talking about the letter of patent. So I just, one of the charters, they call it a royal charter, and I just simply had Googled it on Wikipedia, and what it read, a royal charter is a formal document issued by a monarch as letter patents, granting a right or power to an individual or body corporate. They were and are still used to establish significant organizations such as cities with municipal charters or universities and learned societies. Charters should be distinguished from warrants and letters appointed as have perpetual effect. But the point I was making about this royal charter is that they still, it says right here, they still are used today, used to establish significant organizations such as cities with municipal charters. That's the royal charter.
Whoa. Wait a minute. And this is why Sister Annie E says all the time, go check out the municipality, which, by the way, is a Roman venue, of course, and find out what their charter is, right? Because a lot of the charters mean incorporated, still a corporation. That's not government. And the charter, that's not government. So that's some deep right there, you see. And they're feeling as their government, and people are running and paying them this and paying them that, and then they're putting out their private security guards on the road to accost the people. Oh. So she said get the charter. Wow.
And that comes about when we was reading in White Cargo where they was talking about the companies, and then they did a stock company, and then they changed the name to a royal charter when they started setting up the cities and municipalities. And then they had the preparatory colonies, was a type of British colony mostly in North America and the Caribbean in the 17th century. In the British Empire, all land belonged to the ruler and was his prerogative to divide it. Therefore, all colonies' properties were partitioned by royal charters into one of four types: preparatory, royal, joint stock, and or convent charters. All right, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because when we read anything like the White Cargo and everything, we just don't read it. You know, as Moors, we should verify just because the dude wrote the book and is there and is saying about the white slaves and this and that, we still should verify it. And here it is. Here it is. It's right there, these four different charters, and we seen in that White Cargo how these different charters came about, or how these different corporations came about, as they started with the Virginia, then the East Indian, and then they broke up and became two. The one company had a subsidiary of another company, and it's just a web of deception. But plain and simple, they tell you what they are. These municipalities, these cities, all charters, all companies. Don't say nothing about government, as you just said, and Annie Eid always talk about that, you know. Now they do talk about these colonies being self-governed, or they say self-government, where these corporations governing themselves, you know, were set up, and then they started governing themselves. But that's not to say what we talking about a government, you know.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, say it again.
What a deception! I said exactly. What a deception.
Yes. So you know, it's just right here, you know. So and all of them, when you're talking about these colonies, they only dealing with Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts Bay. They was charter companies or colonies, Virginia, and it shows how, you know, they just united, and you get these United States, and then, you know, from that how they came into so-called government, establishing that getting their independence, and then establishing this so-called this Constitution. I don't want to belittle it and say the so-called Constitution, but you know, the Constitution there, and I mean, it's really deep. And if we understand this as Moors and understand, like I get phone calls and I hear people talking about, you know, like you guys hear it, about our state. Realize each individual person, you are the state. You are the government. The people, a government is just people, to people, for the people, forming so you are the state, you are the government. If you just that one person, if you the only Moor that exists, the Moorish state exists. A Moorish state exists because you are that state. And if you in that state of mind and understanding that you are the Moor, the state exists, that government exists right there. Mm-hmm. When they talking about on here, when you reading all the,
Oh God! No, I'm saying I got Bakari who I thought wasn't going to make it in, but he did. I just want to join him in right now.
Bring him on in.
Yeah,
Bakari.
Brother Bakari, are you with us?
Yes, Mother, I'm here. Greetings.
How are you?
Greetings, brother.
Greetings. Man, you guys have been going in. I've been listening on and off, so I'm not able to. I'm not in front of my laptop. Got caught up there, so. But I've been enjoying the show, the parts that I have been hearing. So, great show.
Mhm. All right. Well, I also think I have one other person to join in here, and that's Jayan, I believe. Let me see if this is her.
And Bakari, I'll give you a call, if not this evening, tomorrow.
Islam. No worries.
Islam.
5103. Oh, Anthony Schenkel. Anthony Schenkel-Bey, how are you?
I'm just enjoying the discussion. I came in just...
No. Last night you were like, I didn't mean to press one. Tell me that is that it tonight, or you are meaning to join in into the conversation?
No, I was meaning to join in the conversation. In fact, I wanted to piggyback on the.
You want a Camelback? You want a Camelback?
Not piggyback. Camelback.
I mean, thank you.
No,
I want a Camelback. Thank you. Camelback.
All right.
The white cargo discussion that was that was shared with Anise. I also shared with Anise. I was in Kenya, and we were touring someplace, and I happened to mention and show Anise over in Kenya, white cargo, and she takes one look at it and says, "Oh, that's just saying more lies," because I've been, sharing some other stuff. So, and this person was a graduate, got her master's and things like that. So I just wanted to say that wow, I didn't argue with her, but because we don't argue, and that just means that a person's, well, I don't know what that means, but that was one.
They're not ready yet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all it means. They're not ready yet. Okay.
And then there was another instance where I was sharing with a brother at work, and he said and he's a Muslim brother, and he said he'd never heard that, and he was on the black African things like that. We suffered as slavery and things like that. So when I shared that information with him, he said he'd never heard that before either. But he didn't reject it. And earlier on in White Cargo, there was a line I remember listening, and it talked about the streets, how they wanted to make them wide and to conquer the land. So I just wanted to ask if anybody remembered that statement early on, like in the earlier chapters. I don't know if it was 4 or 5, or where it talked about, how we have the wide lanes and the straight roads and how they access to accost us, all the people pulling us over and things like that. I'm just wondering if anyone remembers that in White Cargo being bought out, how they wanted to divide the land in that sense, to control and to subdue. Because I remember even America was. Mm-hmm. I was going to say, I remember even this used to be the land of the woodland trees or something to that effect, where it was mostly trees. How a squirrel could hop from one coast to the next very easily, and now the trees in the popular in the city areas, they're all gone, so to speak. But I'll end with that.
Oh yeah. Now I don't remember that exact statement there, but I do remember when, in order for Humphrey to get his patent, he had a whole plan written out with cities, streets, the whole system, the jailhouses. He had the whole system planned out. If you read it, and I think that's in chapter 4, in there, or maybe on chapter 4 or something. It's sticking with me, or maybe chapter 11. In order to get his charter, he had planned all that out already. So I definitely remembered reading that. And I also remember reading, after they gotten here, America was so full of lumber. And what happened in Europe, they was exhausted of their lumber of building and things like that. And when they got here, you know, that became, and into today, that became a big industry, became the lumber industry. And they talked about how acres and acres of land over a short period of time became treeless as the colonists and the workers came and they started just raping the land of the lumber, not understanding or not even thinking about the replenishment of it or nothing like that, just raping the land of the lumber. And so as a result of that, you started getting floods and washouts and stuff like that. So a lot of that went on. I was reading that. So, yeah, you are on point with that. You're definitely on point with that. As you continue to study, you see that lumber became a big industry. And that's one of the things now, even up into this day, they had lumber was a big industry here on this continent also, you know, and then they had to go into refurbishing it or replanting trees and stuff like that, because you had to be real careful. That's a big thing. When you go into areas and you rob the area of those natural resources, especially of the trees and things, you know, how when it rained and stuff, you have the flooding and stuff like that. So you really had to be careful of that. Not alone to talk about how we are bonded together by these trees by a common cord, because what? We breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, and these trees, they breathe in carbon dioxide and give us the oxygen. And so we become tied by those things, you know, a common cord to those living things. So, yeah, you're on point with that, brother. But as far as the Muslim brother saying that he wasn't aware of it, you know, I can understand that question, you know, but then I wonder, did he go and study to find out further about it? I mean, because, I mean, you dropped the knowledge on him, you know, so it's just a matter, if you wasn't aware of it, study it and become aware of it. And then, like I said, the sister, you know, she's just not ready for it yet. You know, you weren't, you know, sometimes you got to kill the messenger. And a lot of times, you know, we bring this message to a lot of people, and they, for one reason or another, it might be the person bringing it that they won't accept it from. So a lot of times, you know, the same message from somebody else come, and the sister will accept it, you know, and or she just not ready yet, because, you know, a lot of times two people, when they come together, they ain't at the same place at the same time, and I'm talking mentally, you know. So, Islam to that. But, don't waste your time. Deliver the message and keep moving, brother. Islam.
Along those same lines, I have a nephew that's visiting right now in Kenya. He's more into the Kemet aspect of the knowledge. He's even into it to the aspect of where you do burn sage, and able to see past lives. That's something I've never even encountered or have any knowledge of. But he asked me about it, and I'm more in line with law and with studying the history of where I am. And he's from Kenya, that's also our family there too. So I started to share with him, and his father, who is devout Christian, the whole family, because I invited him to a Constitution class we were having here in Khalifa territory, and his dad was adamant about, well, what is this? You should have told me about this. I guess I may have stepped on some toes, so with sharing information. Yeah, you're right. I have to be careful. I think I can get past that point with them. So we're still family. I'm just now I'm a little gun shy about sharing.
don't feel that way. There's nothing wrong with it, brother. I like to use myself all the time as an example, because I can remember years ago when I became conscious from some other schools of thought about Islam. And when I became conscious, man, I went running to my family. But one of the things I learned from running to my family, beating their eardrums to death, was that in my energy and your sincereness and stuff like that, the way that you go about it, you can be sincere, but you can be sincerely wrong. And so the way that you might go about it, is with certain people and certain family members, when you know certain things about them, is meet them in the middle. You can't be too far to the right and too far to the left with it, like the brother just called up earlier. When this light is so hot for some people, and if they vibrating on such a low level, when it hit them, man, it burns them. They move away from it. It's too hot for them. And then you could have been too hot yourself, vibrating, bringing it. And so, these is just some things to think about. And as far as the sage thing burning and the brother going back to Kemet, I don't find nothing wrong with that. Long as my position personally is with that, if you take yourself from where you at right now and study history and the law and doing what you're doing, and then back your way to Kemet, I don't see nothing wrong with that. But if you take where you at now and you go to Kemet, I sometimes find a problem with that with brothers and sisters that I talk to, because they skip a whole paradigm of knowledge of who they are getting to Kemet. It's like you skip so many degrees going to Kemet. So, if it's 5 degrees that you have to learn, and we know that this knowledge come in degrees, and if it's 5 degrees that you have to learn, and you don't learn the first, second, and third degree, and you go, for instance, if you don't learn the first degree, that you're not Negro, colored, or black, and you go all the way to Kemet and saying that you this without understanding that, how can you understand who you are in Kemet or coming from Kemet? I think Raz brought a thing to my attention, even with the Christianity thing. If people don't understand the fact of the nature of this Christianity that they're believing in, And then they saying that they Moors today, the ones who do say that they Moors today, and they didn't understand what they thought that they believed in then, and they bring that into this paradigm. All they doing is bringing that old paradigm into the Moorish paradigm. It's no real change there. It's just like when people go on a diet and they health conscious and they say, I want to lose weight and go on a diet and everything, and they go do a fast and they do all those things. But when you go on a diet, you first have to that's the physical thing of the food is the physical thing, but you have to do a mental cleanse. You have to lose weight mentally because your mental things is too heavy that you carry. So you have to start there first, because you go on the diet, and then after the diet is over, then you gaining all the weight back because you never changed the mental thing, on the journey. So, if you skip right to the food and starve yourself for the food without correcting the mind, it don't do you no good. Islam.
Islam. One thing I want to go on more. Islam. One thing, the young brother, my young nephew, I took him to RVBey and I shared an article with him, and he actually read it. And so we're exchanging information, but I haven't spoke to his dad and about the information. So, and I was even looking at Moors and Masonry, and he happened to be in the car with me, and he thumbed through the whole book so quick. I'm like, hey, I haven't asked your dad if you can even look at this. So I have, people can be sued in schools, and this is family, so about information being exchanged, and I feel like I've violated my brother-in-law by introducing him to
How old is the brother? How old is your nephew?
I think he's under 17, 18. I think he was coming to school out here. But now, because that happened, I think his dad might not feel comfortable with him coming to school out here or something. Although he didn't say that, but that's how hurt he may have become. So.
Wow. So then, now that's very, very interesting. That's why we say to mothers, because the condition of the child truly is based on the mother and what she really wants to teach them, because she is the first teacher from the womb. That's why we emphasize that, because she's the first teacher from the womb, and if she knows this, it is automatically going to be given to the child. Then that know the condition, like what you just explained is really something, because the question is always raised: who do you teach, the children first or the parents? Or the mother and the father and the elders and those who, as in your case, are saying, I don't want my child to know that, and that's sad, because that the benefits are better for the child to have the truth, and that we are to teach the children the maxims of truth. So you're right. Someone can say, I'm going to, or attempt to violate you, or think that you violated them, and they want to sue you for teaching their child that. That's an interesting thing. And I know within your whole, your whole family, you kind of pulled everybody in, but what do you do when, I guess you just have to back off? What could you really do unless you wait until the child is old enough themselves to make their own decisions? Now, even if you do that, Brother Schenkel, that uncle or his father or whatever it is may still be angry at you or dislike it just because that's the position that he is in.
Yeah, he's even expressed to me he would in Kenya, he's the only one that's awakened to that aspects of even becoming a vegan. A year ago, he wasn't a vegan. So that being introduced to the family and him being the only one with that aspect was troubling to him, and he expressed that to me. And he said that before that conversation, he had been settled down and he was more open. So I'm trying to introduce him to Christianity, the aspect of, hey, that's even our culture, because what they're practicing now is an aspect of Saturnalia, which is a corrupt version of Christianity. I know that we are the Hebrews and we're the Jews from that aspect, so I'm trying to get him back to saying that some things are okay, not to reject or not to. But anyway, I digress. I'm really trying to keep it short and sweet. So
I would like to.
I think that. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Bukhari. I don't know how much time we have left here, but I would like to, touch on that issue just for a minute. Mother Roz, do we have sufficient time left?
Actually, we have about, let's see, 7, 8, 9, 9:30. It's 10 to 10, and, I mean, we can go after 10, no longer than 10:30, but it's 10 to 10, so I don't know how much time do you need to have for your expression here. I think you have it.
I was just a couple of minutes or so.
All right.
I just wanted to make a quick comment on the dealing with sharing the information to other individuals. And I got to relocate here because now my cell phone, as soon as I want to start talking, the cell phone is going to go down on me. So, wow. Give me just a second here. Let me get a charger. But what I wanted to say was that when you deal with this information and you're speaking to other people, it's easy to get very excited and you want to tell them, everything from A through Z that you know or that you are aware of. And that's not really where you want to go. Because you can't convey in however many, whether you sit and talk to a brother or sister for an hour or a month, you still can't convey the scope of, our story. And there's no way to do that. So what you have to try to do is focus your energy on those who are sincere and also learning yourself. Just continuing to learn so that if you have a situation where you want to be able to relay some information, maybe you can take some of that energy and put it into studying a given topic so that when and if an individual does approach you, you'll be ready to share some information. And then, of course, you always have RVBey publications and various other sites that share some good information. And then the other thing is, with astrology, everybody is different, and everybody has a different story, and everybody has a different life, in terms of their experiences. And so there's no cookie cutter, type way to really either try to anticipate how somebody is going to respond to the information or whom it's going to appeal to, or, whether or not an individual has a PhD or a master's or an associate's or is a high school dropout. There's absolutely no way to try to plan ahead as to what their response is going to be. So the best thing that I've, just in keeping it short, is that if you are sincere, you be sincere. and just be prepared to be yourself, so that when anyone sees you, they'll know that something's different about you because you've been living it. And that is I think that is one of the best ways that you can deliver a point, is first of all being knowledgeable so that you can refer them to various different types of texts, books, etc. Because this is not about belief. Okay, like the Moors that I socialize with, like we are not into believing jack that you got to say just because you got on a nice suit or you got a nice home or a nice car or whatever. No, we ain't believing nothing. Give me some reference material so that I can cover this up and I can get smart on this issue so that I can speak smartly. And I yield the floor. Islam.
Thank you. Islam.
Yes, indeed. I hear that. It is again sort of like a I was speaking with someone and saying, listen, I understand why the Prophet and majority advised us that we're all forced to make changes. So some of the people that may not be receiving it now, like it has been said, they will in their time and pace, and they'll be coming back to you asking, oh, man, what was that you said, et cetera, like that. But the force to make changes is and I can relate to what Bakari's saying, or I relate this to what Bakari's saying, and that is you don't have to, and this is not what you're doing at all, Brother Schenkel, but people need to know that they don't have to try to be different because they got information. Some people do that because this information will force them to be. It forces you to on its own merit. And I think what he's saying is that there's this light that shines. It already shines from you, from many of us, that shines because it is what is within you that comes out. And people will be attracted to that light. And at the appointed time or their appointed time, then they will come into this information because the brother mentioned earlier, it can be dangerous. Look at what's happening. It can be dangerous. They want to accuse you of, influencing a young mind or the person, even if they aren't a young mind, they want to hurt you because, you're talking stuff that that's too overwhelming and mind-blowing or whatever like that. And I think it's come to a point where this talk about this is more prevalent now because it's out there and people want to know more about it, but I find they're not exactly sure where to go. I want to use the word start, but, like we said before, you could go on RVBey Publications and just start anywhere and go from there because it is what it is. But I still find that it's interesting when it comes to the children, as you were bringing up the children. That's very interesting on what do you do? A course for them or a course for the parent, and then sometimes, as example, with this son's father, he may never want to receive it, and will always fight against it until and unless it becomes something that he feels in his heart to do, So it's a good point to make. Now, I think that what we have to do as we look into the future is just go ahead and put up those institutions of learning or establish those venues, however we're going to do it, and those who want to hear will hear, and those who want to come will come, and that's all we can do. And then be very careful about those who might want to hurt you. Islam. Now,
I've been fortunate.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Say it again.
I was going to say I've been fortunate that my brother, that I was talking to his son. He was when I went to Kenya. He accepted and called me Bey. So he accepts aspects. He felt blindsided that I should have come to him and even asked him. And he even later said, am I allowed to come and look at this and examine it? Because he's at such a young, impressionable age. And I said, of course you are. So, he's open. Mm-hmm. He just felt a little blindsided when his son came and asked him about it first instead of me. And that's what happened.
Oh, okay.
But his son
I got you. Yeah.
His son asked me to he wanted to ask him, and I was wanting to honor that. That's all.
Got it. Yeah. Islam to that. Wow.
Islam.
Oh, interesting. Now, Sim, I know that as I had mentioned before, and making the point as well, is that a lot of your family members, close and distant, and just in the circle, had come into this through your work, but also through Tressa, the mother. Because it's true, you already know that if the mother is against it, it's not going to be a good thing. And the same thing goes for fathers as well. But definitely, the mother has to be with it, to make the whole household and the whole family, the whole thing run smoother as well.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Yeah, Islam. Mm-hmm. But for the brother though that just got off, how did say his appellation again?
Shankwell Bay.
Shankwell Bay. Okay. That whole thing is divine, brother. That whole situation is divine. Period. Especially the son wanting in his heart to tell his own father and not nobody else what he had. That whole thing is divine, even though the father got mad, got upset, and it's not so much that he even got upset about the knowledge, it's just how it came to him, that's all. But, and then, so, that'll work itself out, It'll work itself out. At least I feel that way because it's just divine. It's divine, and we know that law governs all events, especially divine law. So you good. Mm-hmm. You do, and you doing your and you doing your job, brother.
He's even told me that he feels close to me. He feels close to me than any of the family. My brother. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're right.
Yeah, I mean, how can you go to your grave without opening your mouth? So it's divine, brother. And as far as, like you said, for Tressa, my wife, my mate, you and any brother out there better understand, like the children are so influenced by the mother, even though the father do play certain important roles in the child's life. The influence that the mother have is just tremendous, and it just makes it so much easier, to bring it, especially to bring it by way of the mother with the mother's approval, just with the mother nodding her head, yeah, it's okay, or just nodding her head without even saying nothing, just with that approval, it just makes miles of difference, to make it so much easier. So, I know that to be for a fact. So, Islam to that.
Thank you so much. I feel so much better.
Oh, man. Thank you, brother, for sharing, man. Thank you for sharing, because the family needs to hear that. These are the things that happen in family. Family gets into arguments, and family don't speak to one another for a little bit of time. Don't think that that's not what families do. All that happened, this is what families do. Families go through this here, and you still family. So Islam, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, same here.
And I want to
add,
that's the reason why they will come back to you to ask what they need to know at their appointed time. They now know where they can come to in the family, and that's the good part of it. And I do understand that the way that went, he just felt like, oh, shoot, I was blindsided. I don't know. My son is telling me something, and you know how fathers are. You know how sons are. They feel that way.
Right.
That's all. He'll get through it. And the nephew will be a better person for it, and so will his father, because he'll take it to him again. It is a good thing. But just know that you will be the pivot point. You will be the point person in your family. That's why you know what you know thus far, and they don't, because that's what you're going to be. That's what you are. And when they come, you will be there. So it's belong to that.
Islam.
All right.
Islam. Peace.
All right.
Peace.
I think that we are going to, it is 10:04. I would like to just reiterate, this particular class is not as it normally is in the reading, but it was a nice break because you wanted to present them, and I know we'll be back on reading the chapters, and the chapters right now are out of White Cargo. There's a few books, just to mention, but this one we're reading is White Cargo. And what chapter are we up to? Is she's read up to, I believe, is it 12 or 10? I know it has to be at least 9,
I think it's
right?
chapter 10. I think it's
10,
on chapter
right.
10.
Chapter 10.
Yeah,
so we'll be back to you.
Because she went to 8 the last time.
Mm-hmm.
Went to 8?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think she started with 8. I think Anna Eve started with 8 last go around. So yeah, it's up to 10 now.
All right, that's what I thought. And so and so just so the people know, there's the other books, Christian Slaves, Muslim Masters. They were is one of them. They were white and they were slaves. There's another one called Barbarian Cruelty. And then White Slaves, American Masters. And I know she read it first out of one of these, just a chapter or two. Well, currently on White Cargo, which is really interesting information and an interesting read. But now the Barbarian Cruelty says, subtitle, an eyewitness account of white slavery under the Moors. Christian slaves, Muslim masters. Now, we know those Moors were mostly the British Moors who had them, the British. Christian slaves, Muslim masters, says white slavery in the Mediterranean, the Barbary Coast, and Italy. And then they were white and they were slaves. The sub is the untold history of the enslavement of white in early America. I think that might be the one that she read a couple of paragraphs from. So it's a wonderful venue here, and we'll get back to Anna Eve reading it again. Let me see. Reading it again. I'm not sure of the date now because I do know that it's always the first and fourth Wednesday, and this month we had a fifth Wednesday, which is now. So we'll see you back here Tuesday for National Principles in Action, and I think then is it next Wednesday would be also back to back, right? Isn't next Wednesday the first Wednesday? So we'll be reading again next Wednesday. And if it's not available, I'll probably read the chapters and start with, I believe it is 10. So either way, we'll see you then. And I will be doing at the House of Ram on this Friday, Moors and Christian Powers. And it gets into... I'm looking forward to it. I think she broadcasts on Facebook, but we'll be taping it anyway. So
I got a question.
I thank you all. Sure, go ahead.
Oh, before you close out, do the House of Ram have a way to get in touch with them and even have a donation page?
They do. They do. I really need to get up on exactly how that is, and I apologize for not knowing it. But they absolutely do, and I think the Facebook is House of Lamb, if I'm not mistaken, right? Let me see.
Dr. Naila?
Yes, Dr. Naila. Yes. So you're familiar with that?
Is that what it is?
Yes. In fact, I donated using the link. There's a link.
Oh, okay.
If we go to Facebook, even if you just type in Dr. Naila, because I saw Taj's broadcast a few times, and even Abdullah's, and there was a link on that page. That came up.
I just wanted to put that out there, to help the sister, because she's doing a great job bringing the people to speak there, to the people and bringing the knowledge out there, and donations would be great for her. So for her to keep that going. So
exactly.
And I do. Yes. Before you leave, I have to put out there a shout out to Mother Annie Eden, our condolences, and for her to stay strong, because I lost my mother, had transformed, and it's a moment. It's a moment, but be strong. Be strong and know that, and that we love you. So I just wanted to say that for me and my wife, that we love her, all right? And we stand with her all the time. So Islam.
Islam. That's
Ditto.
Ditto. All right. I'm sure she'll hear that. And I'm sure she'll hear that. That's beautiful. I'm going to shoot you I'm going to send you the flyer, SM, so that you can get the information you want. It's on this flyer. I'm going to send it to you.
Great.
All right. And again, thank everyone for listening, and have a wonderful evening. We'll see you on Tuesday with National Principal in Action, 9:30. Oh, I got it. Wait, hold on, everybody. I got to choose the song to close with. And I forgot to set that up. Wow. I feel so nervous right now because I got to find it. There it is. All right, so thank you. Have a good evening, and thank you for your participation.
You're welcome. Islam, peace and love.
They can sing. Live can sing.
This is Moorish science. I woke up about 9:45, just another day in my life to make it. Even though my face can't really be shaved, yet I'm patient. Brush my teeth in the basin. Grew up, flew up to 6'5". Through rooms I ducked, my head hit shingles. Felt like yesterday I had to climb and take a tinkle, but now I bow my head for the sprinkles that hit my head. So many changes that I live drunk and red, don't really make it. Am I really done with let some niggas shaking? I'm tired of looking through the eyes of this Satan. My denials, my lies find me trapped with temptation. Mirror, mirror on the wall, I fear I'm about to fall. Life ain't fair when I'm out the yard. In the dark I see fear, I see flares as I hear the roar. My affairs keep straying from the law. Some things I'm praying for, better days. Celebrate with real family holidays, like all the days I slept. Gotta seize that, gotta ease back, gotta clean my mess. Back to reality, what do I see?
It's your man JB. Still good in the hood, my
soldiers living every day to the fullest. Fear no man, just loading my bullets. It's like a jungle sometime. It make me wonder how I resist the urge to pull it. My trigger, my we don't play, but we gotta teach the youth the truth to live a better way. War equals death, ain't nobody wins. My homie took his last breath trying to repent his sins. So now we take things a little more serious. No cop or judge instilling fear in us. We the gods on earth. Since birth we learned to put God first. Stay blessed up. My niggas get on the turf, stay vest up. The ongoing cycle of a young buck. The unit full of G's, no 50 Cent. It's GCP, the streets know the best.
I sit back and recollect on past times when I was too young to handle, trying to avoid the guilty crimes. I used to just write lyrics and bubbling beefs was on my mind. It was all about having fun. As long as the sun would always shine, wasn't concerned with no money. All I wanted to do was rhyme, and I had those feelings to 93 from 89. And I hated school, though I thought it was necessary. I've naggers left, I was on the hot block daily, and I seen nothing lately happen in my face, and it hurts like a bitch. And those memories I can't erase. Try not to dwell on the past, cause times can't be replaced. And a prophet once said, don't marvel at the former days. It's not a wise inquiry, need to turn a new page, start a new chapter in this book called The Stage. We ain't afraid of the rapture, new world, new age. But mind you get captured, the brain's already in a cage.
My memory serves as should.